makes it possible is the people who we connect with, their willingness to be open, to be vulnerable, to share. But if we didn't have that open community that we have in the CHD world, we wouldn't have a magazine.
Why devote a magazine to the congenital heart defect community? Who are the editors of the CHD Magazine, and how do they choose their articles? What have been some of the featured articles, and what is yet to come? Welcome to Heart with Anna. I am Anna Jaworski. Like one of today's guests, I am a heart mom. My child was born with a single ventricle heart in 1994, and that is the reason I am the host of your program. Today's show is the CHD Magazine, a magazine for the congenital heart defect community, and our guests are Jenny Muscatell and Amy M. Lee. Jenny Muscatell is a licensed social worker, blogger, author, photographer, and podcast expert guest. She is also the founder of the CHD Magazine. She earned her bachelor's in mental health and human services through the University of Maine. She has over 2 decades of experience in the social services field, specializing in crisis intervention, health systems, and end-of-life care. Deeply passionate about her work, Jenny is regarded as a fierce advocate, earning her the Child Welfare Rising to the Challenge Award. Jenny lives with her husband, Dan, and 2 daughters. Her first daughter, Faith, was born with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Jenny shared her life experiences, authoring the Amazon best-selling book, The Journey of Faith and an Open Heart, and is a public speaker on multiple platforms. Through faith-filled presentations, heartfelt written words, and photography, Jenny's mission is to give voice to the vulnerable, hope to the hurting, and to make way for the unspoken to be told. We'll welcome our second guest, Amy M. Lee, in the second segment of the show. And in the third segment, we'll all be together in the studio. My loyal listeners will remember Jenny from her appearance on the podcast last year when she talked about being an author, heart mom, and speaker. Welcome back to Heart with Anna, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's always an absolute pleasure to be on your show.
Well, I loved being on your podcast too. That was a lot of fun, especially since I got to be on your show with my husband.
That was so much fun. I really enjoyed speaking to both of you, and it was kind of fun to turn the tables a little bit and be the one to ask you questions.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Hey, friends, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to that in the show notes. So in case you missed my appearance on Jenny's podcast, and that's the #truth, you can go ahead and give a listen. We've had so much fun getting to know each other. But this is the first time for us to talk about the CHD Magazine. Tell me why you felt it was important for the congenital heart defect community to have its own magazine.
Well, I guess first I have to say that I have always loved magazines. I grew up in the teeny tiniest little town, and we were sort of off the beaten path. We didn't have access to a lot of things, including cable, because cable didn't go out that far to where we lived. And I guess you could say that kind of made us feel a little bit disconnected from the world. So each month, and I don't know if you did this when you were little, but each month, my friends and I, when the new issue of Teen Beat magazine would come out, we would drive our bikes down to the Brooks Pharmacy, pitch in our pennies and our nickels, and save up enough to buy the magazine. I think we probably plastered our bedroom walls with pictures of Ralph Macchio and all kinds of teen stars. That
Sean Cassidy. Yeah, I remember. You and I grew up around the same time. And oh my goodness, what a cool memory that is of you and your friends riding your bike, getting the magazine, and then plastering your walls with the photos. I think that's amazing. Well, that explains a lot to me about your understanding of good layout for the magazine, because that is one of the things that I have just been so impressed with. And it's hard to believe that there's already 3 issues of the magazine that's available, and you're making it available for free to the public. So tell me a little bit about what made you decide to get started and what you've chosen for covers, because your covers are so beautiful that they look like art. They're just so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. If you take that kid back in the little town and you fast forward a few years and you look at getting started, as you've experienced yourself, when my daughter was born with complex CHD, I only knew one other parent who had a child that had a heart condition at all. And we didn't live close to each other. And back then, long distance phone calls were still a thing. So
Yes.
cost
And they were expensive.
And
Yes.
as the years went on and things sort of changed, I grew to know literally hundreds of families who were impacted by CHD. And each story that I heard was similar, but also really unique. And each story that I heard taught me something that made me feel a little bit less alone. And I think when you've gone through something very difficult, that people who have experienced CHD, be it they have a heart condition or they know someone who has had a heart condition, they too want to be able to help other people who are going through the same battles. And so bringing those stories forward has been really kind of an honor and a complete blessing to be able to lay those out in a magazine. And so when you say, boy, these covers are beautiful, or boy, the layout is beautiful, it is, I agree. But I believe that it's beautiful because those stories are inspiring. When we go through the magazine development, it truly is an honor to hear the heart of what is some of the most intimate moments that people could share. We are invited into these stories in moments of pain, in moments of grief, but also in moments of joy and triumph. And when you're placing those stories into a magazine format, there's a lot of thought about how do I want to this out in a way that gives it honor. And that's truly the drive behind the design part of the magazine, is how can we best honor this beautiful story full of inspiration that someone has shared with us, and then share that with an entire community.
Yeah. I know a long time ago when you were first thinking about putting together the CHD magazine, you told me this was something you had thought about doing for years. What made it possible for you to do it now?
Well, the thing about that is it's what makes everything possible is community and friendship. And so we co-founded the Heart Community Collection. What has it been now? Has it been a year and a half since?
Yes, it has been. That's hard to believe too.
I know. Well, it seems like I've known all of the members of the community for so much longer than that. And we together are always just trying to find new ways to bring information to people, new ways to connect people. And the thing about it is it's not a community, and it's not a platform where it's, hey, look what I did. It's, hey, look what this person did.
Yes.
Listen to this person's story. It will inspire you. It's a group. It's a network. And so each member of the Heart Community Collection, you will find their books or their products in the back of the CHD magazine. You will read a lot of their personal stories because many of them have contributed personally. And just having that connection within the heart community itself has brought forth so many stories and so many new faces. And every time we turn a corner, there's this other person set to inspire. And so that's really what makes it possible. What makes it possible is the people who we connect with, their willingness to be open, to be vulnerable, to share. If we didn't have that open community that we have in the CHD world, we wouldn't have a magazine.
Home Tonight Forever by the Baby Blue Sound Collective. I think what I love so much about this CD is that some of the songs were inspired by the patients.
Many listeners will understand many of the different songs and what they've been inspired by. Our new album will be available on iTunes, Amazon.com, Spotify.
I love the fact that the proceeds from this CD are actually going to help those with congenital heart defects.
Enjoy the music.
Home Tonight Forever.
This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The opinions expressed in the podcast are not those of Hearts Unite the Globe, but of the hosts and guests, and are intended to spark discussion about issues pertaining to congenital heart disease or bereavement.
You are listening to Heart with Anna. If you have a question or comment that you would like addressed on our show, please send an email to Anna Jaworski at anna@hearttoheartwithanna.com. That's anna@hearttoheartwithanna.com. Now, back to Heart with Anna.
In this segment, we'll welcome back to the podcast author and heart warrior, Amy M. Lee. Amy M. Lee was born in Vietnam and immigrated to the United States in 1980 at the age of 5 with her mother and cousin. She graduated from Western Washington University with a degree in sociology and worked in the technology and telecommunications sector for 20 years. After her mother's death in February 2017, Amy left her corporate job to write her debut novel, Snow in Vietnam, as a tribute to her mother's heroic decision to flee Vietnam after the fall of Saigon. Amy calls the Pacific Northwest and Oklahoma her home. Her greatest joy is spending time with her husband, son, and their pets. My loyal listeners will remember Amy from last year when we introduced her to the program and then did a special surprise show with her too. She was also a weekly guest during Heart Month 2022 when we had Tasty Thursdays, where my husband and I attempted to make recipes from Amy's cookbook, and each week we reported how successful we were with the recipe and whether or not we could make the recipe a little bit more keto-friendly. Welcome back to Heart with Anna, Amy.
Hey, how are you? Good
I
to
am
be
doing
here.
great. It's so good to talk to you.
If I could live in your podcast every single week, I would love it.
Oh my
so
gosh,
much
I would
fun.
love having you. Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. If I could have you two girls every week, I would be smiling every week. Not that I don't smile with the guests that I have, but you girls seem to find a way to make me laugh and smile so much. You're the only person I know who calls the Pacific Southwest and Oklahoma home.
The Pacific Northwest, because I actually lived in Seattle. Yeah. Seattle was my original home when I first came to the United States as a 5-year-old refugee. So, gotta give love to the Pacific Northwest.
There you go. Where it's nice and beautiful and rainy, unlike Oklahoma and Texas right now, which is a severe drought. It's supposed to get up to 107 here tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Same here. It's like 105. Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. Well, Amy, can you tell us how you got involved with the CHD Magazine?
Well, the CHD Magazine is really Jenny's brainchild, or should we say heart child. Of course, the moment that Jenny mentioned wanting to do one, I was like, oh, I'm in. Like, how can I be a part of this, right? And I am really proud that the CHD Magazine actually found a home through your brainchild, Anna, the Heart Community Collection. This was your vision. And honestly, as a heart warrior, I was floundering a bit in terms of how can I make an impact to the CHD community. I was the only one that I knew who had a CHD. So in January of last year, 2021, God actually brought you and me and Jenny together. I'm pretty good at proofreading. And so I think I proposed to Jenny that I'd be the last line of defense before publication. And so after Jenny does all her magic with the layout, the formatting, editing, all that jazz, I actually comb through the magazine through its entirety and be a safety net, right, with the grammar issues and table of contents, syntax, all that other stuff. So that's how I got involved. And it's been a true joy. I can't believe we are actually a year and a half into our THCC. It's been beautiful.
It really has. And I remember with the first issue, Jenny let me do some proofreading too. And I was so excited. I just wanted to see what was next. So what was next? And I couldn't believe how big the magazine was. Did that surprise you?
It did. And it's like one of those things where you just hope, but you don't have any expectations because you don't know what to expect. But when I saw that first issue in its raw format, I was just immediately falling in love with it. And Jenny is just, she's just amazing. She's just very talented. And she's got the eye. I mean, like, she does our website, she does our social media posts, and every single one is always like perfect color palette. And I don't know how she does it.
I know, it's so pretty. I mean, she truly does have a good photographer's eye. I know how to appreciate it. I don't know how to replicate it. So I'm so glad she's there doing that. I just look and I'm amazed at everything that comes together and how pretty it is. And when I showed it to Frank the first time, he said, "Oh my gosh, this looks like something you would see on the newsstand."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I wish we had it in print, but that's another complicated issue. So.
Yeah, you know, you're seeing so many magazines nowadays that are having trouble doing it with print magazines. So there are a number of magazines that have gone to online only. And I think the nice thing about that is people can print out articles if they want to, but we're saving trees. I mean, it's a very green movement for us to just do it electronically, but yeah, there are times I just want to hold on to it. I just want to hug it to my chest and say, thank you, because this is what I would have loved to have had 27 years ago when my baby was first diagnosed.
Yeah. And for me, I love to collect magazines that speak to me and hang them on the wall. So I'll put it in a frame of some sort. And if they're autographed even, I'd love to do that as well. But I appreciate the fact that it's an electronic magazine and it's accessible to anybody and it's free. And you're right, you know, we can download those pages and print them out.
Yeah. So I know that you've been a frequent contributor to the magazine. What do you most enjoy writing about?
Well, I struggle with what to write, actually, because I feel like my story has been shared so many times, Anna, through my books and my podcast interviews. But one of my love, as you know, is food. So when the topic of food is brought up, it's like, aha, I know now that that's my language. And so I love sharing food recipes for the magazine. So rather than really writing articles, I always ask, Kenny, what should I write about? But for me, it's definitely the food pictures. Like, I think I did the charcuterie one and the spring roll one. And yeah, so for the next magazine, I'll figure out what to make that's heart healthy.
Well, you do such a good job taking pictures too. Everything that I've seen, I think, oh, I want to try that. That looks good. How did Amy do that?
But you got to make it keto friendly. That's where I struggle.
That's the twist, is making things keto friendly. Because with my husband being a diabetic, I really want us to enjoy good food. And it looks like you're having so much fun with the recipes that you put together. So just seeing if I can tweak it a little bit and still have it come out tasting good. And that's the cool thing, is that the recipes that you have put together, Amy, it doesn't take difficult tweaking to make it keto friendly, and they're delicious. I haven't had a single thing that I've made from your cookbook that I haven't enjoyed and that we haven't made twice. And that's saying something. Yeah.
Well, for the third time, invite me over.
I know, right? So why do you think it's important for our community to have its own magazine, Amy?
Gosh, well, simply put, Anna, there just isn't one out there. Like when you search for CHD Magazine on Google or whatever you're searching, there's nothing compared to what Jenny put out, what we put out. And I can't say enough. Like, Jenny has done such an amazing job getting the SEOs right. And I remember when this first started, she and I ping-ponged, and I think maybe you were involved too. We were ping-ponging back and forth about what the name of the magazine should be. You know, and I wanted something like really sexy and sizzly and beautiful. And Jenny was like, whoa, let's just name it for what it is, you know, CHD Magazine. And she's so smart. And honestly, the stories, the articles, the cover, the pictures, they speak for themselves. Having a CHD magazine, when you Google it, it comes up with all of these other acronyms for magazines in which CHD is talked about, but it's just like a little splatter, right? It's not the whole spotlight. And since we've had this magazine, it has grown quite a bit with a lot of downloads. So I'm super, super excited. You know that there's a need for it when we have all those downloads.
Anna Jaworski has written several books to empower the congenital heart defect, or CHD, community. These books can be found at Amazon.com or at her website, www.babyheartspress.com. Her bestseller is The Heart of a Mother, an anthology of stories written by women for women in the CHD community. Anna's other books, My Brother Needs an Operation, The Heart of a Father, and Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome, a handbook for parents, will help you understand that you are not alone. Visit babyheartspress.com to find out more.
Heart to Heart with Anna is a presentation of Hearts Unite the Globe and is part of the Hug Podcast Network. Hearts Unite the Globe is a non-profit organization devoted to providing resources to the congenital heart defect community to uplift, empower, and enrich the lives of our community members. If you would like access to free resources pertaining to the CHD community, please visit our website at www.congenitalheartdefects.com for information about CHD, the hospitals that treat children with CHD, summer camps for CHD survivors, and much, much more.
So before the break, we had a chance to meet both Jenny Muscatell and Amy and Lee individually, but now all three of us are in the studio together. So Jenny, I'm wondering if you could tell me how often you're releasing the magazine and where people can find it.
Absolutely. Currently, the magazine is released quarterly, and the easiest way to find it is to visit the website at theheartcommunitycollection.com. You'll see a tab right at the top that says CHD Magazine, and you can visit there and see either the flipbook or download a PDF for your own viewing. And the other place that you can look is if you visit our Instagram or our Facebook, right at the top, you'll find our link tree. Click in that. It will bring you right to our current issue.
Okay. Do you feel that a lot of people do access the magazine through Instagram or Facebook?
We have a lot of different traffic sources that direct people back to our magazine. Our first copy had somewhere around 1,000 downloads. After that, our second issue was around 1,500, and it's only been going up from there. So people will access that via all of the channels that I've explained already, and we just have such a great receiving with the CHD community.
Yeah, that's great. That is a huge number of downloads. Now, what do you have planned for the future, Jenny? I'm always excited to hear what future stories or certain people that you think might be contributing to it.
Well, as far as the future goes, we are always coming up with new submission guidelines. We are going to be having one coming out here in another week. We're working out the details of that right now, so stay tuned. A call for submission will be coming soon, and I'll give you a little hint. It is going to be somewhat of a healthcare related issue. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like something everyone in our community can use. And that's one of the other things I like about your magazine, Jenny, is it's not just glam and glitz. Although it is beautiful, there's real substance to the magazine. And I have to allow myself at least an hour or so before I open your magazine because I know I'm going to read it cover to cover.
It really is hard to stop once you pick it up. I agree. When Amy and I are going through the editing process, we are usually texting each other excitedly the entire time. And oh my gosh, I do have to throw out there that Amy is the literal best line editor I have ever met in my entire life. Her eye is brilliant. She touches everything that pops off the page. And so that's just really a huge blessing because we want to again, honor the stories that we place forward, and having them accurate is one of the ways that we do that. So very exciting. Every time we go through the process, we are, oh my gosh, did you read this on this page? Did you cry? Yes, I did. Did you laugh? Did you do that? You know, we're moved. Undoubtedly. It's very moving. Being part of the process, being part of the production, it's a very moving process. And we've passed it along to doctors and nurses and people who maybe work within the CHD community but don't have CHD themselves. And they love hearing the stories that maybe they don't get to hear when they're in the hospital because things are very busy.
Right. What I love too is there's so much diversity in each magazine. That has been really surprising that you are able to garner so many different stories. There's poetry and a little bit of everything. There's something in there for everyone. And like Amy said, recipes.
Right, absolutely. And the thing about that is CHD is not picky. It picks on anyone, whether you're a young mom, an older mom. It doesn't matter what your career is. It doesn't matter what's going on. Anybody can be impacted by CHD in any given moment. And your world can become changed forever. And in many ways, that world gets very hard, but it also is very, very beautiful. And the changes that come along with that or within the CHD community, there's blessing beneath all of that hardship, and there's hope and there's perseverance, and you see those things when you read these stories.
Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. Okay, Amy, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could make a prediction for us, what do you believe is the future regarding the CHD magazine?
Well, I see Jenny in the future. As long as Jenny is theory, that CHD magazine is going to have legs and wings and is just going to fly. I see our downloads continuing to grow. I think the content is going to continue to mature as we mature. Mm-hmm. And as technology advances, we're going to see more of that story. And I'm excited about the healthcare piece that's going to be coming out with the next issue. So more stories, but I see it capturing more hearts. Right? More people getting more attention. And I hope that one day, maybe we'll even have a big celebrity that can grace the cover or write an article for us and take it to another higher ground. But I don't know. I would love to see our magazine be like O Magazine or something like that, where everybody knows about it.
Oh, I love that too. Well, it's one of those things where you want everybody to know about it. And on the other hand, you feel, I really wish not everybody I knew was affected by CHD because it is a hard life. This is not an easy path that we travel. But for everyone that we do know who is on this path, yes, we want you to know about this. We want you to be inspired by the stories that inspire us, ones that make us cry. We all have tissues out collectively. And we all get to giggle and chuckle together too, which is just healing. I think that's what I love about the magazine. It's healing because it helps you to know you're not alone. And that is the whole purpose behind this podcast, behind the Heart Community Collection. And the CHD magazine is a perfect fit with all of that. I'm so excited that you have been such a great line editor for Jenny and that Jenny has enabled us to both contribute as much as we have. And she even let my husband contribute to the last issue, which was really fun. It's open to the whole Heart community. And I think that's one of the things that people like. I know that even recently, Jenny has had requests, oh, can I write for the magazine? I've had people ask me, how do I write for the magazine? And it's so easy to go to the website. There's the big CHD magazine right there on the menu. You click on that and the submission process couldn't be easier.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have when so many people want to write for the magazine. And I do want the magazine to grow really big. And the reason why is because it's an invisible illness. It's 1 out of 100 babies born have it. And I want to make sure that it gets destigmatized. The more we know about it, the more we can talk about it. And also get funding and raise money for research or for care. So, yeah, I think it's going to grow pretty big the more and more we make it available to people. And as long as Jenny's running it, like I said, it's going to be successful.
Yes, I agree. So, Jenny, can you tell us how Heart Community Collection members can be featured in the magazine?
Well, for the magazine itself, we actually, in the back pages, feature all of our Heart Community members. If they have a book, we list their book. If they have a podcast, we list their podcast. If they have a product, we list their product. But anybody who's either on our team or in the community or anybody anywhere, it's open. Like you said, 100%. Anybody can submit an article for consideration for publication, and they go to our website, as you mentioned, and we make the process very, very easy. And we love, love, love hearing all the stories. So whether you're a team member, not a team member, it's all a team and a family to us. So send us your stories. We'd love to read them and share them.
Well, I can't believe our time is up already. This has gone by way, way too fast, but I wanted to thank you so much, Jenny, for coming on the program, for putting together the CHD Magazine, and for being a founder of the Heart Community Collection. Honestly, if somebody would have told me 5 years ago, oh, someday there'll be the Heart Community Collection, there'll be a magazine just for the Heart community, I would have believed it. And here it's come together so fast, but it wouldn't have happened without you, Jenny. So thank you so much for coming on the program today and talking to us about the CHD Magazine.
Thank you so much for having me and for allowing myself and Amy to all meet, because we wouldn't have met if it wasn't for you and this show right here and your idea to spring forth the Heart Community Collection. And I do have to say and add one more thing, which is one regular piece that we have in CHD Magazine is the Ask Anna section. So Anna, I know you've been podcasting for a very, very long time. If people haven't checked that out, there's always an amazing story that you're sharing of the different things that you've come across while you've been doing podcasting for all these years. So check out the Ask Anna section in CHD Magazine.
Thank you for mentioning that. If anybody would like to ask me a question to make sure that I cover a certain aspect that I haven't so far, please send me a note, because we'd love to know what all of you are interested in. Amy, thank you so much for coming back on the program. You are becoming quite the regular on my podcast, aren't you?
It feels like home, Anna. I love it. Every minute of it.
Oh, it's been so much fun to have you. And I'm so thankful the way the three of us came together. It just so happened that I interviewed both you and Jenny on the same day and shared with both of you my dream, my vision of having a special community for authors who wrote in the CHD world. It was so amazing. Both of you were like, oh yeah, we could do that. And before I knew it, it had almost sprung wings, really, is what happened. It almost formed its own entity out of nothing, but it wasn't out of nothing. It was out of the passion that all three of us have for writing, for stories, and for the CHD world. So thank you for being an impetus for that to actually spring forth and become a reality.
Well, thank you so much, Anna, and thank you, Jenny, as well. I just love you both, and I love our community. And it feels good to belong to something and have a common goal to bring those resources to our community.
Right. Yeah, I think that is something that's so beautiful, is that we do have that common goal. It's not selfish. It's selfless. It's all of us saying, my story by itself is not important. What's important is the collection. What's important is all of our voices coming together. And that's what's so beautiful about the CHD Magazine and the Heart Community Collection. It just keeps growing and mushrooming and blossoming. And it makes me so proud to see all of these different people coming together, podcasters and authors. And now we even have other people with other products too, but it's all for the Heart community. It really does make us feel like a tight-knit family, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't agree more.
I'm feeling the love here. Come join us, join our community. It's full of love.
It really is. And I think what makes us all so tightly woven together in this beautiful tapestry, is the way that I envision it, is that we all have these common threads of hearing bad news, being in the waiting room while our children are being operated on, or in Amy's case, while she's the one being operated on, dealing with medications, dealing with uncertainty. I mean, we have a lot of common threads. And yet, I love what you said earlier, Jenny, where you said, even though we do have all of these common threads, we each have our own unique story too. And I think that's what makes the tapestry so very beautiful, is that we can appreciate the common threads, but there's so much beauty in the individual stories and how different people have handled their adversities and come out and triumphed over a lot of obstacles and a lot of problems in their lives.
That was perfectly said, Anna.
I love you both so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's done, but not for good, because I know you'll both be back on the program later. We always have more and more things to talk about. But for today, that does conclude this episode of Heart to Heart with Anna. Thanks for listening today, my friends. Please find us on Facebook. Just look up Heart to Heart with Anna and let me know on the Heart to Heart with Anna Facebook page what one of your favorite articles has been in the CHD Magazine, or an article you would like to read. And until next time, remember, my friend, you are not alone.
Thank you again for joining us this week. We hope you have become inspired and empowered to become an advocate for the congenital heart community. Heart to Heart with Anna with your host, Anna Jaworski, can be heard at any time wherever you get your podcasts. A new episode is released every Tuesday from noon Eastern Time.